Hi, I'm Dan Danford with Money Made Easy, a series of podcasts that we're doing for DadsDivorce.com. We usually take a question from a viewer, and this week is no exception. I've got a really good question. I have recently retired with a pension and I receive Social Security benefits. How many months of emergency money do I need? I usually tried to keep 6 months worth in savings when I was working, but am not sure how much I'll need in retirement. Retirement is kind of an adventure for everybody who jumps in. Basically, after a lifetime of working and having income come in, all of a sudden you're going to be retired and you're pretty dependent on the income that you've already made arrangements for. That can be very scary for people. I've worked with a number of retired clients for a lot of years, and I've learned some lessons about that I try to bring to bear for various questions and things that people bring to me. One of the kind of interesting things is some of those general, what we used to call rules of thumb or general guidelines don't quite apply today as much as they used to. And one of the reasons is because people just live so long. Many of those rules were created, 30, 40, 50 years ago when people were lucky to live 10 years into retirement. Today we're looking at retirement where many times, especially with spouses, one or the other will live, 3 decades into retirement. And so some of those old rules don't apply the way they used to. This one actually is maybe more generalized than some of the others, but it's still interesting. When I work with clients, oftentimes, and we're just helping them with their finances during their working years, we use the same rule that you did, which is 6 months of income. Basically, we want to have that kind of money very liquid so that if an emergency comes up, somebody loses their job or they have a big expense at home or whatever, they have the money to do that. It differs a little bit in your situation because you won't have income interruption. In other words, your Social Security payments and your pension payments, if you have them, are continual and will last for the rest of your life. You don't have to worry about being laid off. So that creates a lot of stability there. So you don't have to worry about that quite as much as somebody who's working. Now the trade-off is if you have other investments that you rely on for emergency reserves, the question is, what's the penalty for accessing those if you need them? Okay, so if you keep money in bank CDs, say, and you have most of your money there, and all of a sudden the furnace breaks down and you need to raise a couple $1,000s, are you going to have to go to the bank and pay a big penalty to get your money out? And if that's the case, then you'd want to have that much money sitting aside in a bank account or a money market fund so that you wouldn't have to pay that penalty. How much money is that? Well, 6 months is the general rule that a lot of people use. Maybe you need less than that because you don't have to worry about income interruption. So maybe that number is 2 months or 3 months. On the other hand, if most of your excess capital, the money that's kind of set aside for your emergency reserves and to take care of you for the rest of your life, if that's in the stock market or the bond market or something that has surrender charges or penalties, maybe you'll need it to be a little bit longer. Maybe you need to have a year's worth in there just in case some big expense comes along. It's hard to know without knowing more about your situation. So I guess where I come back to answer your question is this. For some reasons, including the fact that you aren't going to have an interruption in your income, you could probably use less than 6 months. The unknown is, I don't know where the rest of your money's invested if you have other money that's invested. And if you do, then it probably depends on what the penalties are or what the consequences are if you'd have to raise a bunch of that money all at one time and say the stock market is bad or there are high penalties or surrender charges. So you have to take that into account. In general, it makes good sense for most families to have money set aside for emergencies. There are things that happen to us that are unforeseen, and when they come along, we need to have ready access to money. The answer to how much each family needs depends on the volatility of their investments and the stability of their situation. It sounds like in your situation, your income is very stable, so you probably don't have to worry about that so much. What we don't know is the other part of the equation, so I can't give you an absolute answer. In any case, I hope these thoughts are helpful to you as you kind of look forward. Genuinely, it differs from situation to situation, and I think you're way ahead just for asking the question. It shows that you're tuned in to some of the key issues that you need to face in retirement. Good luck. I'll see you next week.